turn
Okay.
this down a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Emily Dickinson was one of America's most profound and imaginative artists, and yet she lived most of her life on 14 acres in Amherst, Massachusetts. There she beheld the entire world, nature, culture, human passion, and artistic expressiveness. In her early 30s, she summarized her life in a letter to Thomas Wentworth Higginson, who was the first to recognize her creative genius. She wrote, "You ask of my companion hills, sir, and the sundown, and a dog." The utter transparency and sophisticated innocence in this letter are potent when read in our age of guile and studied opacity. Higginson described his first meeting with her in a letter. "She came to me with 2 daylilies, which she put in a sort of childlike way into my hand and said, 'These are my introduction,' in a soft, frightened, breathless, childlike voice." I'm just going to pause from the reading for a moment. I love that this poet came to present herself not with words, but with a gesture of flowers. I think that's so beautiful. This is my introduction, kind of says it all, right? No doubt these daylilies came from her garden, which spread out from the side of her house. Emily Dickinson lived the philosophy of William Blake, and this is Blake, to see the world in a grain of sand and eternity in an hour. For her, the universe lay spread out before her on 14 acres of gardens and lawns and in the hills she could make out in the distance. Each artist seems to have access to a special chink in the opacity of the cosmos, a crack through which they can perceive the whole and make a philosophy and a life of it. Can't we too find our own way to look at our small worlds and perceive the universe, the all manifested by the ordinarily small? In that way, our lives would take on their proper dimensions, which are measured by time and eternity, place and infinity. It takes eyes calibrated to the wide world, which can observe the most commonplace event or article and glimpse the incursions of eternity. This capacity gives meaning to ordinary days and liberates us from the unnecessary task of finding meaning outside our own limited lives. All that is required is imagination, a poet's perspective, eyes that see through sensations to their emotional and intellectual core. One finds meaning in life by living fully and intensely, like the sensitive and self-conscious Belle of Amherst, that's Dickinson, within the borders of one's own particular vernacular, unexceptional existence. So with that, I'll pass it over to Jackie and welcome our guest. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. As always, you know exactly what beautiful contributions to start out the session with. And I'm so thrilled that Colby accepted our invitation. I've known Colby, I think, about 2 years now, and he's just a beautiful human being. He's got a beautiful family, and his mission, I'll just read his mission because it's so powerful. His mission in music is to create socially conscious and spiritually focused hip hop that uplifts, educates, and inspires. And in this time where we can bridge the music that really the youth are resonating with and be able to contribute in a way that uplifts that message and brings consciousness, I was like, really, he has to join us and share. I'd love for him to, for Colby, for you to share with us that, and I remember we've talked before, you have a spiritual awakening that kind of changed the trajectory of your mission. If you could share that with us about the themes in the Baha'i faith that you really bring the core of your mission and your work with Rap Camp, please. And thank you, Colby. Welcome.
Sure, sure. Well, thank you, Jackie, for inviting me, and yeah, wonderful to be with you all this morning. Thank you so much for the invitation. This sounds like such an amazing endeavor and so important. So I'm grateful for you guys putting out your energy and giving your service to the world through such a noble thing. And wow, okay, so you touched on touched on a lot of things there. Let's see. Would you like me to start with kind of my own journey, my spiritual path? Okay, cool. And feel free to like interject if I'm going on, if I'm rambling too much. But yeah, so I guess for me, as you mentioned, I'm a member of the Baha'i faith, so that definitely shapes me a lot. And I was born into a family that practiced the Baha'i faith, so I was exposed to it as a young person. But then, of course, as all of us experience, we have our experiences as a child, and that's very much shaped by our family life and our friends and our surroundings. And then we kind of reach maturity, and then we kind of have this decision to make of like, am I going to kind of continue with what I was taught? Are there other things I want to seek out? What is it that I believe? What is my beliefs? And something in the Baha'i faith that I really appreciate regarding that is it actually promotes the individual investigation of truth. So you're not born a Baha'i. Actually, you have to actually declare your belief in the Baha'i faith independently of of what your parents say, and you can do that at 15 or older. But anyway, so I had kind of been exposed to the Baha'i faith, and there was many things that I loved about it. It promotes the oneness of religion, so it teaches that all the religions are from one God, from one divine source. It teaches the oneness of humanity, that all people on this earth are from one stock, and that no one is less or more. We are all equal. We are all one, and on a very fundamental level, not just like, yeah, we should treat each other equally. Like, we're all connected in such a deep and profound way. And also it promotes so many beautiful things. And so I always kind of had that in me, but as a young person, I kind of went astray, which is very easily, it happens very easily in our society. It's there's just so many things to distract us and draw us in. So I kind of got, I think, caught up with a lot of the distractions of the world. And I would say I was not a very spiritual person as like a high school youth and even a college youth. And it wasn't really until my early 20s where I had been working for 6 years at a financial institution. I had just graduated college. I'd studied marketing and business, and I just kind of had been making decisions, not really reflecting too much, honestly, on why I was making those decisions. Got all the way through there, and then it's funny, actually, how sometimes, when a door closes in life, it's actually such a blessing. I'm sure all of us have experienced that. So I actually applied to be a manager where I was working at the time, and I was declined. I didn't get the job. And I was told I would need to kind of do all these other things if I wanted to get that job. And I was kind of thinking, do I really want to do all that? And am I really where I want to be? And I had a really profound conversation with my grandfather. And he told me, because I was kind of asking him, what should I do? And he told me I should go pursue more education, that education opens up more doors and it's really helpful in life. And so that was kind of one of the beginning stages of my awakening. So I went and I was looking at programs at Arizona State where I had intended to study. And I was just kind of scrolling through, not knowing what I was looking for, honestly. And there was a program that just jumped out at me, really spoke to me. And it was a social justice and human rights, a graduate degree in social justice and human rights. And I thought, wow, that sounds powerful. So I looked into the program, and everything I started reading about, promoting a better world and being a change agent in the world. And I was just like, yeah, it was like speaking to something in my soul that hadn't been manifested, really in my life. And so I just thought, this is it, man. This is what I want to do. So I applied for it and I got in, and then I started reading a bunch of books. There was like this pre-reading list. So I started reading a bunch of books, and it started awakening all this stuff in my mind, particularly about social justice and kind of the reality of the world, which I think I had some awareness of, but very little. And so I started kind of looking into that, reading that, and then I saw, okay, my job really isn't aligning with kind of where my life is going right now. And so then I started kind of seeking out, well, could I have a different job that might align better with this? And that's when I started. And then a friend of mine told me about AmeriCorps. And AmeriCorps is a service program, government-sponsored service program where you do a year of service. And so I started hearing about that. And again, my soul was like, yes, this is exactly what I need right now. So I applied for that and I got in. And that's actually where I met my current wife, Mallory. We were in the same program, and she played a huge role in my life, you know. And so we kind of met there, and then I was doing this year of service, and all these things were kind of happening at once, you know. This idea that, okay, my life is about service now. You know, I show up to my work and it's just about how can I serve people, how can I help people and make a difference. And that was like a seed that had been planted in me that just totally blossomed right there. Like, service is the highest calling in the world, you know. And I really loved that. And then the social justice program was showing me, here's everything that is just totally wrong about the world, you know, and here are the rights that everyone has, you know, and here's the standard. And then, interestingly, as Mallory and I got to know each other, so her parents come from an Episcopalian background, and then she became a campus crusader in college and became very fond of that. And then we started talking, and we started exploring some of these spiritual concepts. And she was honestly one of the first people in my life ever that was interested in having these spiritual conversations, which is very unfortunate. I think most of my friends just weren't interested in that at the time, even though I think all of us have that desire deep down. The environment often isn't conducive to it. And so we started having these really deep spiritual conversations. And she started asking me questions like, what do you think happens after we die? And do you believe in God? And the very important questions that many of us just don't consider much for some reason because of, again, our environment. And so I started kind of thinking, and then that kind of drew me back to the Baha'i faith. And I think also because in the Baha'i faith, unity is ultimately the primary objective of the whole cause, you know, the unification of the human race in order to establish peace and justice and all these things for the world. And so I think when I was there were things I was seeing in my service work and in my social justice work where sometimes social justice, when it's not moderated with other spiritual principles, it can turn into something, you know, negative, just like anything can. Anything that's not moderated, anything that's carried to excess can, you know, be a source of evil, is one of the Baha'i quotes. And so I was seeing that. I was going to certain justice things, and I was seeing, man, you know, but what's the end goal here? Is it just to express anger, or is there something deeper that we're trying to get at that our soul is yearning for? And then I would be going in the service stuff, and I'd be seeing, okay, we're all about serving, but then maybe the morality wasn't there. And so that kind of brought me back to the spiritual and the religion. And so Mallory and I kind of explored that together. And that's when that's essentially what drew me back into the Baha'i community. And I then started becoming active in the Baha'i community and got involved in kind of the primary educational program of the Baha'i faith, which is called the Ruhi Institute, which means Soul Institute. And it's basically aimed at using the Baha'i writings as a foundation for spiritual kind of awakening, developing spiritual insights, but then ensuring that always gets applied into practical service. It's not just like, yeah, I'm awakened and kind of sitting in my home, but like, no, okay, how are you going to use that to help people? How are you going to use that to contribute to the betterment of the world? And so then I got channeled into that. And all the while I'm kind of exploring this idea of music, which I didn't have much background in. I started writing lyrics, you know, right around this whole time, and it kind of progressed over the years. And my grandmother on my mom's side was a poet. And on my dad's side, my grandfather was a very great speaker. So I think I kind of got some of that in my genetics that just also kind of blossomed as I started writing. And really, my music is just, as it was being shared earlier, it's really a channel to process all of these feelings, all of these beliefs, all of these life experiences, and also, again, do it in a way that it helps me express my understanding, but also as you shared in my mission, it's really to uplift others as well. So I'm always very mindful of that, is how is this going to affect the person that listens to it? Because as artists today, we have such a platform to share our music. And so that's always kind of a goal. So that's kind of, you know, my current trajectory. And then, you know, now, you know, Mallory and I have been together for some years. We've been very active in our community, and really the Baha'i faith, it really right now in particular focuses very much at the level of the grassroots and focusing on your own neighborhood. And what are you doing in your own neighborhood with the people around you, with the young people around you, the kids in your community? How are you helping them to see that they're, you know, these just deep minds of amazing gems to be you know, realized, and that youth are this powerful spearhead to lead change in the community if they're being, you know, supported. So that's where a lot of my focus is kind of that's where a lot of my energy is focused, is in my own local neighborhood here in the Sunny Slope area Phoenix. And then my music, of course, has a reach, but because of the amazing world we live in, it also has a very global focus as well, just to, get out into the world. And so, yeah, I'm also a new father. I have a 2.5-year-old son and another baby on the way due in November. So very excited about that. So that's been another kind of area for me to now focus my energies, is how am I being a father and how am I helping, these new beautiful little seeds blossom into, beautiful trees that will bear fruit for the world. So I really try to see the coherence in all of it. And it can be tough to balance all of it, but it's all one. It's all interconnected. How I parent is going to affect my music. My music affects my parenting, and that affects my community work, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's kind of my my life story up to the present moment. And yeah, hopefully it's inspiring in some way.
Jamin, I would love for you to continue, for Colby to continue to talk about how he developed his music, rap camp, but also I really want you to share that story that you shared with us about at another event,
Yeah.
where you started going into the hip hop and started really examining the popular music and how the messages and what you decided to do with that and uplift that. But before that, is it okay if we watch one of his music videos so people get a taste of his beautiful talent?
Let's do it.
Colby, can you find a video you want to share with
Yeah.
us?
Do you
I
have
was
anyone in particular? Do you have anyone in particular, Jackie, that has resonated with you, or?
um,
Let me see here.
no, I love them all.
Okay, let me see
I
my
was,
internet.
I was going through the videos this morning. I was like, oh, this one. I was like, oh no, this. I was like, you know what? Let me just pick which one.
Okay, well, my internet's kind of, okay, here we go. So let's see. How about, I mean, you can't go wrong with Change the World. This is my first one I ever, actually, here, let's actually do The Movement. This one's kind of not as popular, but it's very powerful to me. This is a song, let me just pull it up. So also I didn't really mention this. This was another big part of my journey in music. Was I was volunteering in Cameroon, Africa, with my wife Mallory. We wanted to just do something fun over the summer, and we were both into service. We had done AmeriCorps, and so it was very kind of just fate. I met a gentleman in a course I was taking, a peace education course, and his name was Franklin, Ngolam Franklin, and he lived in Cameroon. And him and I just kind of hit it off on Facebook. And so Mallory was just like, well, why don't you ask him if we can go there and volunteer? And I was like, that's kind of crazy, but I guess I could ask. And I asked him, and he was like, yes, that would be amazing. We would love to have you. And I was like, okay. So we just kind of took, one step led to another. And then a few months later, we're on a plane to Cameroon. Which is just how life goes sometimes if you just go with the flow, and you follow the energy. So we ended up in Cameroon, and we were there to do environmental education work, which my wife was really interested in. But then, kind of God had other plans. We did do that, but then I met this high school youth named Awu, and he was singing a song out there, and I thought, man, that guy's voice is just captivating. And I had just written some lyrics, like maybe a few months before that. I had not produced any music at this point. And again, I had very little experience in music. So I asked Franklin, I said, do you think, Awu, do you think he might want to like check out this song I wrote? And again, Franklin was like, you write songs, what kind of song? Oh, it's a hip hop song. You rap, what? I didn't know that about you. So I'm like, whoa, I'm not a rapper. I don't have any music out. I just wrote this one song. So he gets me and Awu together, and I show Awu the lyrics, and he just loves the lyrics, and he starts doing his guitar, making a melody. And I'm like, man, this is amazing. So we ended up making like an album while I was out there. And then we put the songs out, and then my parents, who are incredibly supportive of all my endeavors, and also, very blessed materially and financially, they said, we want to, first of all, my dad wanted to go to Cameroon and meet all these amazing people that he saw me talking with on Facebook, and all these pictures I had taken. So we went back to Cameroon, but then my mom said, why don't you bring your friend Brian with you, who does film? Why don't you shoot some videos for all those songs you made? I said, that sounds great. I'm down. So Brian came along with us. We ended up shooting 2 music videos, but then the second time out there, Awu and I wrote another song called The Movement, and we made a video for that. And that was, it's basically about inspiring and empowering young people to be the change, but then what type of change should they be? And ultimately for me, and, you know, exploring with Ewu, the change should come from a spiritual place. The spiritual part of humanity is what should inspire that change. And so that's kind of the vision of the song. And then I'll show, but we'll watch the video so you can guys see how we kind of manifested that in action. So let's see. So I just share my screen here and then share sound. Okay. Okay. Is it sharing yet? Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
It says it's starting sharing. There you go.
There we go. Okay. So here is the movement.
This is
featuring Mr. Ewu.
It's a time to shine, I hope you're feeling ready. So everybody in the house start getting busy. Just like the wave, nothing can stop us when we start moving. So everybody wake up, get down with the movement.
I'm about to raise a roof, spitting some truth. If you're a youth, what I'm about to say's directed to you. Yeah, the young ones living in your prime. Open up your eyes, it's your time to shine. Check it, you have the powers that can bring about change. They can also bring pain, homie, let me explain. Think about our generation. What is our purpose? Why were all of us created? What should we worship? Media and marketeers trying to trick your brain. They'll have you living a lie if you ain't on your game. Sleepwalking from the womb to the tomb. Got the world thinking that our generation is doomed. So wake up, get down with the movement. We calling all youth, help us make an improvement. Let's use our powers for good, let's change society. Come on and join us, let's build a spiritual dynasty.
This is the time to shine, I hope you're feeling ready. So everybody in the house start getting busy. Just like the wave, nothing can stop us when we start moving. So everybody wake up, get down with the movement. Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down, 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 down.
We're talking to you. Okay, now listen. If you want to change the society,
Change yourself.
turn off your TV.
Take a book off the shelf.
You gotta stimulate your mind,
Activate your brain.
intellectual capacity,
You must update
your thirst for knowledge,
your love for truth.
language, arts, and science.
Mathematical proof.
And don't forget your meditation and prayer. That's how we learn to put our faith and trust in the Creator. Use your talents and abilities in service to others. And if you work for peace and unity, you'll surely discover that service to humanity is just like service to God. And living only for yourself, that's a big facade. So wake up, get down with the movement. The world needs you, no excuses. I hope you feel the Holy Spirit that is guiding me. Change yourself, change
This
society.
is the time to shine, I hope you're feeling ready. So everybody in the house start getting busy. Just like the wave, nothing can stop us when we start moving. So everybody wake up, get down with the movement. Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down, 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 down.
We're talking to you. We can't do this alone, we need an entry of troops. Half the world is under 30, that's 3 billion youth. The power lies right in the palm of our hands. Can't wait around for change to happen, gotta take a stand. So stand up, get down with the movement. Throw your hands up if you're down with the movement. Don't pass your chance up, get down with the movement. Bring along a friend, there ain't nothing to it.
If anybody hears my voice, they will know we got a choice. There will be so much to lose if we don't get them now and move.
Get down with the movement,
Everybody
down with
get
the
down.
movement, down with the movement,
Everybody
down with the
get down.
movement, down with the movement,
Everybody
down with
get
the
down.
movement, down with the movement, down with the
This is
movement.
the time to shine, I hope you're feeling ready. So everybody in the house start getting busy. Just like the wave, nothing can stop us when we start moving. So everybody wake up, get down with the movement. Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down, 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 down.
We're talking to you.
This is the time to shine, I hope you're feeling ready. So everybody in the house start getting busy. Just like the wave, nothing can stop us when we start moving. So everybody wake up, get down with the movement. Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down, 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 down.
We're talking to you.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down with the movement.
Calling all youth.
Get down, 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 down.
We're talking to you.
So that was the movement.
Oh my God, it's so good. You know, and Colby, you know, my son just like so inspired by you. Like he really, like you're a guiding force with him. And
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, we're working on some stuff together. I'm really excited to put that new music out. He's an amazing artist himself. So the inspiration is definitely both ways for sure.
oh, thank you. if it's okay with anyone, now you got me going. Can we play Change the World?
Sure. Let me pull YouTube back up real quick. Yeah. So Change the World. We shot at around the same time. It was released actually a year earlier, though. We kind of held off on the movement. But yeah, Change the World was shot around the same time. But then we also filmed another leg of it back here in the Valley. And yeah, ultimately, I think the spirit is the same, really, with the two songs. Obviously, the movement is very much a little bit more higher energy and really geared towards, youthful energy. And then Change the World is more kind of broad for all of humanity. But yeah, so as I was sharing, this was basically the first song I ever wrote in my whole life. I just kind of, as I was going through that spiritual awakening very early on, one day I just woke up and I felt inspired to write some lyrics. And so I wrote these lyrics and I kind of sat on them for a while. And then once I met Awu in Cameroon, probably a year or so later, he took it and turned it into this beautiful creation that I think it was destined to be. And it's probably been still to this day my most popular video for sure. And so it's definitely got a very special place for me as an artist. So yeah, let me share my screen again here. And I got to give a shout out to my wife, Mallory. She is the one who came up with kind of the concept for the video, which you'll grasp pretty quickly. So can you guys see my screen now again? Is that a yes?
Yeah. It looks good, Colby.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna hit play. Here's Change the World.
This morning with a dream to change the world. Just wanna bring a smile to every boy and every girl. Can't do it by myself, I'm my own and all alone. The world needs changing now, so let's all get in the zone. Every woman, every man, come and join me, lend a hand. It's time to step it up and lead our children to the promised land. The golden age of unity, of freedom and equality. Peace on earth is possible, just need a new mentality. Open up your heart and open up your mind. Open up your spirit and guess what you will find. Instead of us versus them, always focused on the enemy. You'll see that your enemy is just like you and me. The world is one country and mankind is citizens. Time to come together, yo, all 7 billion. Turn war into peace, turn hate into love. Turn your frown into a smile, go give somebody a hug.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
Open up your hearts and mind and face reality. Cause there is some good within you, called peace and harmony.
Look inside yourself.
So see me as your brother.
See me as your brother.
Or your sister. I'll move your mountain and you move my mountain. Cause a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step.
Yeah.
Africa must say one hand can tie a boat. Let's unite and see the world change from good to best. And put a smile on the face of my kindness. We say, I can and you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world. So do unto others as you have done to you. Cause change in the world starts with the golden rule. We gotta celebrate diversity and show love universally. Cause everyone on earth is part of one community. Black, white, red, tan, rich, poor, woman, man, atheist, Christian, Muslim, Jew, Baha'i, Buddhist, Sikh, or Hindu. What if you were judged for the language that you spoke? What kind of feelings do you think it would evoke to people down cause of your race or face religious persecution? Time to rid the world of prejudice and start a revolution. Talking no more hunger and no more pain, no more violence and no more slaves, no more hatred hatred and no more greed, no more homeless or broken families, no more pollution, no more disease, no more corruption, no more poverty, no more discrimination. Kids need an education, gotta give hope to the up and coming generation. Look towards the future and forget about our sins. Take a moment to reflect, cause the power is within. Sing it, Awu.
I can, you can. We can change the world. I can, you can. We can change the world. I can, you can. We can change the world. I can, you can. We can change the world. Every black man and every white man, we are connected as one.
One people, y'all.
Yeah. So take my hand.
Everybody now.
I'll take your hand.
Come together,
then
y'all.
the dream will come true.
Yeah.
We can all make a change.
Make a change.
One people, one world. Yeah-la-la, 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 yeah-la-la. Ooh-hoo. Yeah. Yeah-la-la, 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 yeah-la-la. And so we say, I can and you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
I can, you can.
We can change the world.
Yeah-la-la, 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 yeah-la-la. Ooh-hoo. Yeah. Yeah-la-la, 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 yeah.
This song goes out to every single member of the human race. Each action you take has an impact on the rest of humanity. So make your life about something positive and do some good to make a change. The world needs you.
There's Change the World, where it all started.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So beautiful. And the light coming out of you guys is just intensely beautiful. Yeah. Beauty of soul. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's, you know, it just, as I was watching the video, it just brought me back, and it's, you know, it's like, I think that because the message just resonates so deeply and so easily for you know, almost everyone, it was just so easy. I mean, a lot of those were, I mean, yeah, it's so cool. Like my mom, my dad, my grandpa, a bunch of my friends, and a bunch of Awu's friends. But, you know, some of those people were just people that we met, and hey, you want to get in this video and share the song with them, and immediately they're captivated by the song because of the message, you know. So yeah, it was really, really so much fun to put all that together, and just the process of creating it was such a joy as well, because it just engaged so many different people into the process. So thank you for that.
I want to say I'm so blessed to know such amazing people that see the bigger vision and want to tap in and contribute in such a profound way. It is such a blessing. And to all of us to come together in the collective intelligence and share this and contribute to the whole like this is absolutely amazing. And I think this is the perfect way, because we're talking about youth and we're talking about responsibility with our creativity. Share your story about how you started looking at the lyrics of the songs in a whole different way for those that were really popular, mainstream music.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, so you're kind of referring to one of my projects, which was called Lit. But to kind of backtrack a little bit, so yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, growing up in high school, grade school, high school, and college even, I would just say I was very kind of run of the mill, just doing what most of society is doing. And in terms of what I was consuming, that was no different. So I'm listening to mainstream music, watching mainstream, television shows, going to watch mainstream movies, and not really thinking twice, you know, about what I'm consuming. And then as I started kind of having these awakenings with regards to social justice and service and spirituality and these other things, you know, it kind of gives you a new lens to reflect and to view everything in the world, including, you know, music. And so for me at that stage, I started kind of thinking a little bit more deeply about the music I was listening to. And I started seeking out artists and songs deeper message, that type of spiritual focus to it, or that we're talking about the social reality and exploring that, from a more conscious level, and ultimately, inspiring some type of action, having a solution in their lyrics, not just anger, but okay, this is something that I see that I don't like, but here's where we could go, here's where we need to go. I started seeking that out, and I started kind of just compiling my own little music library. This is back when like downloads were big. So, and like iTunes was still kind of a very popular thing for a lot of people. So I would download, I'd hear a song. Oftentimes it wasn't even like, it was somewhat artists, but a lot of times it might be like one song on this artist album. And it was like, man, that's the kind of song I like. So I would get that. And this is, when you could do that, you download the one song, put it into your music library, get it on your iPod. So I started doing that, and then that was before I started writing my own lyrics. And then once I started writing my own lyrics, it was like, okay, what's my role? And this was also right around the same time I started serving as a mentor in the one of the programs in the Baha'i community. It's called the Junior Youth Spiritual Empowerment Program. And it's a program that it's, open to people of any faith, which I really appreciated about it. And so I started working with a group of junior youth, which is like middle school age, in my neighborhood. And as I was working with them, I'd be like driving them around, for example, to the community center, and it'd be like, oh shoot, what's on the radio, or what CD do I have in right now, or what song am I listening to? And it gave me another new lens. Like, okay, it's one thing for how am I processing it, but now I'm putting this on a very malleable and kind of vulnerable young person who's just, they're not, think back when I was that age, I wasn't processing it as clearly. So, oh man, I should probably leave off songs that are, just unnecessarily profane, or super materialistic, or all about, sex and lust and these types of things that are just so common everywhere, not just hip hop. I mean, it's really every music genre, every media form. Everything's about, materialistic, me, I'm better than you, all this stuff. And so that was kind of, in my consciousness. And then what really awakened it, though, to a degree to where I wanted to create something myself, was an artist I really like. His name is Kareem Rushdie. He's also a member of the Baha'i community. He lives in Canada, and he's also a rapper. And he made this album called Wide Awake. And he basically took, mainstream pop and hip hop songs, and he took the instrumentals to them, and he remixed the whole vibe of the song. So he wrote original lyrics, made an original kind of composition, but kept the original beat. And he would generally kind of, turn around the song idea. So for example, he took a song from Katy Perry called Wide Awake, and he made a song about, spiritual awakening, and called it Wide Awake. And I just remember hearing that and being like, oh my God, this is like straight fire. Like, this is amazing. And so I kind of just wrote one. I was like, let me try that. It's kind of cool, So I wrote my own, and it was like, all right, this is kind of cool. So then I decided to write some more. So that was kind of what birthed my third album, which was called Lit. And the idea. So then I was like, since I'm always very intentional about the words I choose and the namings of things. So for me, I was like, what can I call my album name? And for some reason, this word lit, it was like being very much used by junior youth at the time. And I love being around young people because they kind of keep me hip to what's cool. And lit, they were just always using that word. Oh, it's lit, bro. It's lit. So I was like, all right, what does that mean? And I found myself starting to use it too, just to, try to fit in with them. And I found out the meaning of the word. It's like, it actually comes originally from being like tipsy or high. But then it kind of became like, oh, it's just like a cool thing, kind of like dope, oh yeah, it's cool. And it kind of got disassociated from that original meaning. But I also kind of came to realize it also means to be infused with light, when something is lit. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And so there's this quote in the Baha'i writings where I'll just paraphrase. It talks about the spiritual and material aspect of life, and in particular regarding civilization. And it says, you have some civilizations like our civilization that's so advanced materially, like we just have such amazing material progress in the sciences and technology and all these different amazing things, right? And those aren't bad, those are good. It's good to be advanced materially. But the analogy is like a lamp. So if you have this beautiful lamp that you've just taken all this time to craft, and it's just absolutely stunning, but it doesn't have the capacity to give light, then what was the point of all of that? So the whole point of a lamp is to illuminate, right? So that's the spiritual part, and we need to also advance spiritually. And so that's where, and again, the metaphor is great. The light of justice, the light of unity, the light of peace, the light of love. How are we shining those into the world individually, collectively? So again, with the lamp, it's like, okay, also, yeah, like, what would you rather have? A really basic looking lamp that has great light, or this really beautiful lamp that also gives great light? Of course, you want the beautiful lamp that also gives great light. But also nothing wrong with the basic lamp that gives great light. Ultimately, make sure they're giving light. That's the most important thing. And so I kind of took this whole analogy and applied it to music, which was like, in today's day and age, we've come to develop music to such a degree that we can craft this just beautiful sounding melodies that just get stuck in your ear, and people can sing in these amazing ways and just captivate your soul and your ear when they're singing. And in hip hop in particular, I mean, the rap flows and rhyme schemes, if you look at the origin of rap, or kind of the blossoming of it in the 70s and 80s up until now, I mean, it's gone through such an evolution in the craft of it. It's amazing if you take the time to study how people are using the art form of rhythm and language to just craft these amazing rhythms and rhymes. And so that's the material part of it. And that's all good. Those are all good things. But then if it's not shining that light, then like, what was the point of all of it? And I think that's where oftentimes with a lot of mainstream type of content, that's how I feel about it. It's like, this is so beautiful from a material standpoint, so attractive. My soul is drawn to beauty. I'm drawn to this beauty. But then what's the message here? What are we trying to get across? And so that kind of became the mission. And that's what I saw Kareem doing so beautifully with his project. So that's what inspired me to make this lyrical remix album, I call it, which it's like, take the beautiful, amazing craft of this mainstream music, mainstream pop and hip hop that's being produced, but then try, my best to infuse it with a message that's got a little bit more meaning, and a little bit more of that spiritual aspect to it, so that it can be this beautiful blend. And in that Baha'i quote, it says, when you have advanced material and advanced spiritual together, the outcome is perfect. That's actually the best thing we can strive for, which I appreciate so much, because oftentimes I think we have a tendency, oh, it's so advanced materially, it's just like, get rid of that. I hate that. I want to go the total opposite direction and just have no material progress. And sure, if that's your thing, that's fine. But personally, I've come to the conclusion it's actually not bad to be advanced materially, so long as the spiritual progress is keeping pace or making sure it's advancing, which that's, I think, where the issue is. It's not keeping pace. It's far, far behind. So that was kind of the inspiration behind that project. And really that whole spirit, I think, infuses my creativity, in general, is like, how am I making sure that I'm getting better at rapping and getting better at creating catchy songs that people like, but ensuring that spiritual part is keeping pace, so that ultimately it's shining a light into the world and illuminating, in some way for people.
If I may just interject here, Colby,
Yeah.
thank you so much. This is so inspiring. And we've had some comments from people saying they're so inspired by what you're sharing. So
Oh,
thank you.
awesome. Glad to
Um,
hear.
I just wanted to add to what you're saying, that because we're in different times than we used to be, we've like crossed this threshold over into a whole new world, or a whole new universe, actually, that I wanted to add that we also have a responsibility to be accountable for how we're living. So this technological advance, this material advance, has been harming the planet now for quite a few hundreds of years or longer. Certainly in the last 300 years and then longer. So I think it could be interesting, and I just want to inspire you, if I may, to actually, in your work, to bring that, and maybe you do, that aspect in, that kind of awakening, that light shining upon this idea that, that our advance as humans, as we see it, needs to have that reflection on, well, are we part of the harming the planet or part of the healing of the planet now? That yes, social equity is so important, all these things you're talking about, but also what about the other species? What about the habitats? And I use that as a visual artist. That's my personal focus all the time, is like, how do we create balance? How do we take care of the whole planet and save life on Earth? So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no,
See,
that's beautiful, and I think that's a very important point, and totally 100% agree with that. And I think it's so interesting because humans are the only creature on the planet and have that steward of the planet. There's really no other creature that has the capacity to harm the earth like we do. And so that, like you said, comes with great responsibility. And making sure, I think it again goes back to that principle of moderation. That I love that quote, Baha'i quote, moderation in all things is desirable. Anything carried to excess can prove a source of evil. And so any beautiful thing, if you take it too far, it actually is a bad thing. And like you said, technology and all these amazing advancements we have in transportation and communication and all these technologies, they're great at the core, but when they're carried to excess, which we've taken them to far beyond excess, especially here in the US and the Western world, that's where it's clearly proving a source of evil, and it's harming so many species. It's harming us as a human civilization. And scientists have been so clear that we're really dooming ourselves if we don't change things up. So and these huge things like COVID that are happening, none of us really know the ultimate wisdom behind it, but I think there's little glimmerings that we can see of like, okay, do we all need to be driving cars around constantly, and do we need to be burning all this fossil fuel in this huge degrees, or is there a way to kind of rein it in a little bit, and look how quickly the earth is healing itself in these in areas where we have kind of taken a step back a little bit and slowed things down. So totally with you on that. And I try to incorporate that in my lyrics for sure. I have a couple of songs that focus on it, but it's definitely always on my mind as far as like how am I raising awareness with that. And I think, like you said, it's all connected. Everything's so interconnected that we can't forget about one piece of the puzzle. They all fit together so beautifully.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe you already have, so it's a question, but also a suggestion. Like, have you ever worked with First Nations people? And like, I could imagine you rapping with the drummers, the powwow drummers. I think that could be really awesome because they're so deeply connected to Mother Earth and so rooted into the spirituality and the connection of all species.
That's a great suggestion. I haven't as so much here. I do have some friends like on the Navajo reservation and some friends over on the Komaki area. And interestingly, in Canada, Kareem works really closely with, I think it's the Blackfoot, the Chippewa tribe up there. So we did a little work up there with a rap camp, but hasn't been probably as intentional as I could be. So that's a great suggestion. And I think, your point's very well taken in terms of, our Indigenous brothers and sisters have so much to contribute. And I think connection with the earth is absolutely at the core of that. The rest of the world can learn from all that great wisdom. And also I think learning how to consult is another thing that's always stuck out to me. Just this, I remember in my social justice program, we learned what a talking stick was, and we used a talking stick in one of our classes, and it just blew my mind. And I remember that the first time we did that, it was like, when you don't have the stick, you don't get to talk. And I remember how hard it was for my brain to just shut up and just listen to what the person was saying. And it was such a eye-opening moment for me. I'm like, oh my God, I suck at listening to people. Like, I have not been trained well to listen to others. And so it was like, okay, just quiet down. What is this person saying? Focus on what they're saying, and then acknowledge, what they've said, instead of just immediately jumping in whenever you want to, make a counterpoint. So that's another thing I think, that we can really learn from, is just learning how to, come together and talk with each other. So anyways.
Yeah, Jamin.
Thank you. Love you. Love all you're doing, Colby. And, I just kind of want to make a sort of an analogy that what you're doing in the musical realm, and I get that that's not all that you do. You're doing all kinds of service and all kinds of cool stuff. But what you're doing specifically in the musical realm for me is very analogous to what we're doing right here on the Collective Intelligence Block Party and in the Solution Club, which we do on Tuesdays, in the conversational realm. So we're singing a song here, a collective song, right? Through conversation, just through dialogue. Yeah. And on Tuesday, Melvin, if my brother Melvin can wave his hand real quick, I just want to There, okay. Melvin led us on a journey on Tuesday, on our weekly Tuesday meeting, the Solution Club, where he led us on an exploration. What is this thing called collective intelligence? So we just went with it. Most of the people who are here now were there, and he interviewed all of us one at a time, and it's all recorded, so it's up on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
But anyway, but here's where I'm getting at is that what came out of that is we realized, oh my goodness, what we're doing here is so special. What you said about the talking stick just scratches the surface, but it's really about valuing everyone equally, giving everyone an opportunity to speak. And if someone takes a little longer to articulate and needs to pause, just being patient and just going with it, and having these long format, conversations. Which is the polar opposite of what you see on most social media now, which I kind of make the analogy of it's like passing poisonous notes under the door, right? What we're not doing is meeting each other face to face and saying, brother, I love you. I know we've had, your people, my people, whatever, let's just come together and just sort it out. And that's exactly what we do here. So I want to give you an unequivocal, Colby brother, welcome home.
Thank you so much.
Welcome
I
home.
that.
I'm Hispanic, and in our culture, a number of us come from a Spanish background. We say "estás en tu casa," like literally, this is your house, this is your home. So I really want to welcome you here. And by the way, with the Collective Intelligence Block Party, we have a culture of just come and go as you please.
Awesome.
Just open door, and we all have busy lives and whatnot.
Sure.
I'm here for.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, of course, when I got the invitation from Jackie, I knew I'd be in a very good place because Jackie's an amazing woman. But yeah, thank you so much. I definitely feel the love, and it's always so inspiring to be able to come together and feel this type of spirit. So I'll definitely, love to check out some of these other things you're doing, and echo everything you said. Everything you said is on point for sure. And I think we have a lot of progress, and there's all these different forms we can make contributions in, and definitely the conversational realm is something I'm also very interested in and attracted to.
Beautiful. We're so glad you're here with us.
Likewise.
Myra has her hand up. So Myra, you're on, baby.
Hi, Colby. Sorry, I cannot turn on my camera. As soon as I turn it off, I don't know why I get kicked out. I have a really, really bad signal, and I've been having this problem for the last 2 weeks.
Shoot.
But
No worries.
I definitely, you're such an inspiration, and I definitely, it's funny because I have never look forward into listening to rap music, especially because I guess society, we're so used to hearing the term rap, and then automatically our mind goes into like bad words and that type of, I guess, rap that we grew up with, the type of rap that we're not used to. And I'm gonna say right now, I was not a fan of rap, but listening to you, I gotta confess that now I am a fan of listening to the type of lyrics you have. They're wonderful, and they bring so much consciousness and unity and peace. Oh my God, it's just wonderful. I was listening to your music videos with my 3 boys, and they were just there, just listening to the type of words, the type of lyrics you inspire. And just as you inspire them, I'm pretty sure you're inspiring a lot of youth, a lot of young people. Congratulations, and I hope your music becomes known worldwide pretty soon, especially because we're living in such hard moments, and we need this. We need this type of music. We need this type of art in our lives. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here and for your music.
Well, thank you so much, Myra. That's so sweet of you to say, and really touches my heart. And it's, I think we all have our contribution to make in small and big ways. And I think, something that does draw me to music is the fact that it can reach so many people and in such a deep and profound way. And so I'm always so inspired and touched to hear when the music is resonating with people like that. And it's interesting. This is probably a whole nother conversation we could dive into about rap and media. And I think it's kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of shaky ground to walk on, because I think really if you with just eye, if you analyze any mainstream media, it's really all loaded with the same garbage, in my humble opinion. And rap music, it's been affected by that. And in particular, we're talking mainstream rap music that's put out, by large labels. And I think the really unfortunate thing about that is, there's a particular face of rap music, it's predominantly through the African American, community. That's obviously it's very diverse, but that's at the core of it. And so I think sometimes when we have these negative perceptions of rap, it actually gives us this negative, oftentimes subtle prejudice, or overtly prejudice. And we have to be really careful about that. And I think what's really important or good to do is really, think about, first of all, go to the origins of rap, and don't just only look at the mainstream stuff, because rap is literally just, it's spoken word rhythmically to music. So obviously words are not inherently good or bad. They're just words. It's just a communication tool, and it can be infused with the spirit. So kind of really reflecting what rap have I heard? Who was that rapper? Who was the label of that rapper? And really, though, it's the same label that's probably putting out your favorite, TV show that you watch, or your favorite movie that you've seen. It's all the same. I mean, really, 90 or 80 or 70%, if not more, of the media we consume is through a few conglomerate corporations that are controlling the message that is put out in mass. So rap might be a little more visceral, but ultimately when you're looking at mainstream, it's kind of the same message. So we have to be careful not to say, oh, this rap music, let me throw that out, but then let me go watch this TV show and not think twice about it, when really the message is kind of the same. It's both just, hey, it's all about me, and individualism and materialism and whatever. So I think just, kind of being careful with that kind of thing. And I've learned that over time myself as well. Because there are so many hip hop artists and rappers out there that are doing their thing, that are infused with this spirit, that we can turn to. But even the ones that maybe, because I think, it's kind of a soapbox thing, but yeah, even songs where there is maybe some profanity, there is some stuff you're not comfortable with. It's still, if you have the capacity, try to really listen with a hearing ear. Like, what is this person saying? And sometimes you might find there's actually a lot of beauty there, and it might just be conditioning. Like, what is profanity? I think that's another whole, I choose not to use it personally, but that's just my choice. But like, I think there is a way to use profanity in a way that is very purposeful. Oftentimes it's not, it's just kind of thrown out in a really, irresponsible way, in my opinion. But there's also ways to use, sometimes you got to say a cuss word for, just to make a point, because you're really angry about something. So anyway, that's probably another conversation. But I am really happy to hear that, that the music does resonate. And I hope it leads you on a journey to explore more rap, more hip hop out there that is inspiring, and that is, uplifting. And I think, not just one other quick point. I'm kind of going on a little tangent here, but Kareem, he shared with me something that has really stuck with me. He said and this is just his kind of framework, and I'm talking about Kareem Rushdie, who I mentioned earlier. He says there's 3 primary forms of expression. There's expression of self. And he's like, for example, I am angry. That's an expression of self. Then there's expression of surroundings. I am angry because this happened, and then there's expression of solution, which I think you guys were mentioning, your meeting you had on Tuesdays focused on solutions, which really inspired me. So it's like, I'm angry because this is happening, and here's what we need to do about it. And so oftentimes when you're listening to someone, you can kind of think like, what level are they at? Are they just expressing, I'm angry, and that's okay. Like, there's things that trigger us to make us angry, or whatever emotion they're feeling. But then, okay. And then the consciousness is like, well, here's what's going on, expression of surroundings. But ultimately we want to get to the point where we're all able to articulate all 3 levels. Here's how I'm feeling. Here's why. Here's the surroundings that's causing that. But here's where we can go. Here's where we need to go in order to make a solution to kind of the things that are causing these negative kind of emotions. So anyway, kind of off on a tangent, but yeah, I think rap is definitely a very powerful art form. So I'm grateful to be able to utilize it in order to make a contribution and yeah, inspire people. So thank you for sharing that, Myra.
Beautiful.
Definitely.
Oh, sorry, Myra.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say definitely that I agree with him that sometimes when we do, especially use the F word, we do get more attention. And I agree with. Sorry, Melissa, go ahead.
Oh no, that's fine. I didn't mean to interrupt you, sweetie. I also wanted to say that we've kind of come through this time where, you know, I'm thinking of MC Solar, who's in Paris. I don't know if you know this rapper.
Mm-mm.
And I'm thinking of the Black Eyed Peas as well, that there's a lot of racism that they've been through. MC Soler is from North Africa. He lives in, but he's French as well.
Okay.
He raps in French. And a lot of it is about the injustices. So,
Right.
you know, we've come through that time. And I think what's interesting about this ladder, Colby, that you're talking about is, yeah, here's why I'm angry. That's what these guys have been singing about. Here's my surroundings. And now all of us are coming into, well, let's find the solution.
Right.
Which is what I love about these videos of yours, music videos, which we're seeing, because you're saying, you know, here kind of it's obvious, right? We've got this history, we've been through this shit, excuse my language, you know, and we're coming out and we're looking for solutions together.
Right.
All together, all colors, all races, all ages. I love, you know, the words that just said everything, you know, and beautiful. Okay, thank you. And it's James next, followed by Jackie. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Thank you, Colby. I loved your talk and your work. Fantastic. And I love the message you're getting across. And that's exactly what it is. It's all about the message that you're getting across and what it is you have to say. Like, so at the end of the day, as you said, even rock and roll at one time was frowned upon, you know what I mean? But, you know, you'll always have the commercial side of anything, those who just go into it for the quick buck. And they're usually only the one-hit wonders. But those who are in for the passion are the ones who you know, last, like, and who get through to people and, basically, and have the long followings. So it's all in what you're saying and what you're about, I suppose. And yeah, so I just saying I love what you're doing anyway. And there's another guy, Prince Ia. I'm not sure if you know him.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well then, you know, I think you'd be well doing a collaboration with him as well or something like that, because you're both on the similar or same frame of mind anyway. And we were discussing there actually last week about doing a video for the block party as well, like, and I would nearly suggest if you had a look at some of the old videos on YouTube of our block party, you'd nearly get some material for a block party rap or something, just to draw some attention to that. Not that I want to put any pressure or add any,
Sure.
But you know where I'm coming from. You get inspiration from talking. It goes back to I think rapping, as far as I'm concerned, it goes back to a very ancient tradition of where you could stand up on a stool and rap off and say whatever you wanted to say in the middle of the public square, and nobody could come along and interfere. Like, so this, you know, rap to me is another form of expressing yourself in that manner, just using a combination of poetry and rhythm. So you know, it's to me, the best of the rappers are modern day prophets anyway. So thank you. Cheers.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Totally agree with everything you said. And thank you for all that. Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Princey. Actually, I love his stuff. He's definitely an artistic inspiration for me in many ways.
Jackie, it's over to you, honey.
We've touched on so many amazing things, and I've been taking notes. We talked about solutions, we talked about the youth, and we talked about how music affects. How, in your mind, how is this mission going to contribute to this healing that this planet needs in this transition, this evolution of humanity right now? How would you explain how you created a solution when combining the gem that are in children, the rhythm of music, the hip hop? Can you kind of crystallize all that for us? And what is your vision? What do you see coming from this?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question. And I'll be totally honest with you. Sometimes, I mean, like right now, I've just been having, I'm sure all of us, we're just experiencing such a range of emotions of, when we see the police brutality and, just the overt racism, and obviously, like, was mentioned, the stuff happening in the environment, and then with COVID, ravaging the world, it's just like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming, and it makes you feel so angry and sad, and you feel despair and all these things. It's just, you can't help it, and like, if you could just try and ignore it and be in a bubble, but if you're actually experiencing it, it just hits you, affects you. And I'm like any other human. Sometimes I'm just like, gosh, man, what can I do? Like, am I doing enough? Should I be doing something else? I think I have these thoughts every day, like, what can I do? So I definitely don't think that I have the full answer, but I also do know that, not all of us can do everything, but all of us can do something. And so I really try to live by that. Like, okay, like I can't necessarily stop police brutality, on my own, but I can, I can feel it. I can try and teach my children and have conversations with my family about it, and, raise awareness with my network about it. And I can make music that, hopefully will reach people. And yeah, as far as, reaching youth and children, I think I see that as the long-term solution to every ill that we have. Is, that's one of the things I remember one time thinking, like, wow, every like 100 years, humanity has like totally regenerated, like our skin, it's like, it's constantly regenerating. The dead skin is gone, and then the new skin comes. Like, all the problems that we see on the top of our skin, it's eventually gone when that new skin comes. And humanity is no different. It's constantly regenerating. There's always new souls, new human beings. And so whatever, BS we see in the world right now, of course it does get inherited, through the new generations, but it is a new generation. So there's an opportunity to change, every single time new people are being born. I remember when I thought about that, I was like, that's very powerful. And so, and just in my work with kids and youth is like, yeah, they're so malleable. They can just, they're not, so afflicted by these deeply ingrained prejudices yet. So when you're teaching and when you're exploring these things with them, they're able to have these, take these things and create a change, and they have their whole life ahead of them. So they're excited about it. And then the beautiful thing, as as adults and people older than youth, is that then it affects us, and it gives us more inspiration when we get to work with young people. So, I mean, for me, I think, yeah, I'd say my 3 probably primary spheres where I'm most passionate about, where I think I can contribute. One would be, first and foremost, as, just in my family, my own family, as a father and a husband. So I always try to make sure I don't lose sight of that. Especially seeing that many great, change makers and artists have lost sight of that, and sometimes their family is not the best situation. And so I always try to remember that, and first and foremost, take care of that, and, make sure that my children are learning these things at a young age, and I'm taking the time to spend with them and my family. And I think that's the building block really of any society, is it starts with a family unit. So that's one. And then I think with music, that's like a way to just reach a very broad audience, and just kind of inspire people in ways where once I put that creation out, it's like it has a life of its own, And I mean, it's crazy, like Change the World. I literally got a message from this like 6th grade teacher in Florida, and she's like, hey, our have no connection to her whatsoever, except she saw the video, and she said, oh, my whole class made their own video to change the world, and it's inspired us. And like, I've gotten so many messages like that, where I'm just like, man, this thing it's beyond me. I was the channel to create this thing that needed to be created, but like now it's doing its thing out there, and I get an opportunity to perform it and be connected with it, of course. And I get to get a lot of praise, which I gotta be careful with, but it can feel good, to be associated with it. But ultimately it's doing its thing out there. And it's really, it's humbling to be able to say, okay, I created that thing. I got to channel this divine energy and put that out in the world. So that's really cool, because it allows that change to kind of be on a exponential level. And then with young people and, kids and youth in my community, that's, I think, like where you can actually see the most tangible, in your face, immediate change, where it's like, okay, like I've been working with this kid, and like, there's one youth I've been working with since he was in 6th grade, and now he's about to turn 19. And he's had many challenges in his life. And being a mentor, it's like you actually get to see like what is change, what does assistance look like in an actual human being soul's life. Like with art, it's like, okay, it's out there everywhere, it's inspiring, whatever. Being a mentor, it's like, okay, his father got detained and deported. What am I going to do now to help this kid out? This is like real terrible stuff. Now, and more recently, he wasn't able to get into college because of his documentation status, or I shouldn't say he wasn't able to get into college, but he's not able to he has to pay out-of-state tuition here in Arizona and can't qualify for public scholarships, right? Really bright kid, really high GPA. If he was a citizen, totally different situation. And so, what am I going to do about that? So we spent the last year, figuring out how to get him a scholarship, and he had to take a year off, but now he just qualified for the Dream Scholarship, and he's getting a full ride to GCU, starting in the fall. So, those are the things where just in my direct neighborhood that I can see immediate change, and then become, more accustomed to what are the issues in the world. Like, what does it actually look like for real people that I'm connected to, that live right next to me. I think they're all connected. So I try not to get too, into one or the other, where it's like, okay, no, this is the one I got. It's only if I'm just a dad, that's going to do it. Like, they all affect each other. So as I make a song about something, now that song, it's in my head. I put it out there. It's a part of me. I'm going to remember those lyrics when I'm parenting. Or now I can perform this song when I'm out in the community and I'm working with young people, and that attracts more young people. They like music. They like hip hop, obviously. So, and then my experience working with young people, it kind of gives me that refreshed look of like, okay, this is what the world needs. So what message can I put in my lyrics that are going to inspire them? And man, what are the things that they're seeing that's affecting their family? How am I making sure I'm keeping that in mind as I'm parenting? So it's all about kind of seeing this interplay. But ultimately, again, knowing that, not anyone can do everything, but everyone can do something. So for me, it's like, okay, those are my 3 spheres, my 3 arenas where I think I can make the best contribution. I'm going to be mindful of everything else happening in the world, and I'm not going to ignore it. But I'm not going to get so stressed out and overwhelmed, because I know that I'm a limited, finite resource in my material body. My soul may be infinite, but I'm in a body right now, and that is finite and it has limitations. And so I have to be mindful of those. So I think that's kind of how I currently, view things. And, but I definitely don't feel like I have the solution. I think on a daily basis, I'm struggling like we all are, especially with the current state of the world. And I'll just finish by saying, I think, from the Baha'i faith perspective, which views my kind of, paints my view of history, we're at an interesting time, because the Baha'i faith teaches that, we're in a stage where God has ushered and released all these amazing spiritual forces into the world. But right now, we're at kind of this stage where the old world is kind of crumbling and the new world is just beginning to be established. And that's almost one of the most difficult times to be in, because you have this vision of what the new world is going to be and can be, and that is so exciting. But it's like if you were, you had this dilapidated house that was going down, and you had this vision of building a new house, and you were building that house, but you still had to go home and sleep in that dilapidated house every night. It's like, oh man, like I just want this new house to be done, but it doesn't happen like that. You have to take the time to build it. And so we're building the new house right now. And so we have to be careful not to just say, you know what, forget it. I want to give up on the new house. Screw it. Everything's just going to crap, and lose our motivation. We have to keep building the new house, but also we can't, we still need that old dilapidated house in some ways to just give us that shelter and meet our basic needs. So we don't necessarily want to just burn that to the ground either. We kind of have to use it for the time being, but keep focused and give as much energy as we can every day to building that new house to quicken the structure. So I feel like, anyway, I feel like that's where we're at. So it can be so depressing though, when it's like you're building that new house, what it's going to look like, but every day you got to sleep in that old house. That's just, everything's going wrong. The air conditioner's broken. The toilets are overflowing, and, the sinks get putting brown water out, and just like everything possible that could go wrong is going wrong, but you have to sleep in it every night. So I just try to stay focused on that. Like, this is the old world we're living in. I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm just going to keep building the new world every day and contribute. And hopefully, the future generations will will be able to benefit from that. So anyway, that's how I view it.
Is there anyone else in the queue? Because I have another question. Okay, so wherever you perform, your parents are always there. Your dad is always there. He is there carrying your beautiful son around. Your wife is always with you, supporting you. And I just find it so beautiful. Like wherever Colby goes and he's performing, it's the generations. His dad is there. I mean, cheerleading, dancing. How important is it? How important was it for you to develop your talent, to have that support, that creative support, that support from your parents that saw you and just wanted to nurture the you-ness that was coming up? Tell us about how important that was for your growth.
Yeah, wow, that's such a beautiful question. And it's funny because, I think like early on, something that's just so terrible, I think, about our society that is like so ingrained in all these messages that we get is like trying to create separation between kids and their parents. If you just watch any Disney movie, there's always tension between the parent and the child. And I think initially there was this kind of like gut reaction of like, no, dad, no, like it's not cool if my dad likes my stuff for some reason. Like I had to kind of fight that impulse initially. And then I think as I was reflecting, I'm like, what child would not want their parent to just love them and love what they do and encourage them and everything that they like? Why is it that is something why am I feeling this way? This is such a wrong feeling to have. And so I really processed that. And I was like, you know what? No, like, this is so great. I should be so grateful that my parents are so supportive of my music. And so now, yeah, I just fully embrace that love and that encouragement. And it's just, yeah, it's amazing to be able to have, my like you said, my parents at most of my performances. Anytime I have a new project out, they're the first to want to hear it. If I put out a new CD, they always buy it, even though they know they don't need to, but they buy it anyway. And my parents, my dad's always giving my music out he works at a bank, and he's always he'll show his customers, change the world. Like they're having a conversation about a checking account. He's like, I got to show you this video. It's like, what other banker is showing inspirational hip hop videos to their customers? But, and that's actually opened up like opportunities before, like one of his customers was a leader at a spiritual center, Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, Richard Mirage. And then he invited me to come perform then. It's just, so yeah, really amazing to have that support. And then, yeah, like I think on the other end of it with my, my wife and my children, it's like, yeah, so I'm also so grateful for my wife because also the life of an artist can be such a tough one from a material standpoint. It's like, there's such opportunity to put music out, but the way that the music industry is formulated, it's actually really difficult to make a living doing it because most of us kind of consume our music for free. That's what we're used to. We listen on, YouTube or a streaming platform. And that, maybe some of the streaming platforms do give a little bit of money, but you've got to be doing it at huge scales, like, giant artists to actually make a living. So when you're an independent artist, you're not able to do that. So you have to get a lot more creative about, okay, how do I actually make a living doing this? And my wife has been just so supportive where I'm sure she, at any point in our marriage, she would have had the right to say, look, I need you to kind of find something more reliable, Colby. This isn't bringing, but she's always, okay, I have faith in you. It's going to work out. Or maybe she says, we need a little more. So can you do something else, figure something else out? But I still believe in the music. So she's been so supportive. So I'm so grateful for that. And I think, yeah, with my son, it's like, he's just, he's the best because anytime I'm just kind of practicing my music, he just wants to be right there and practice with me. And he knows all my songs and he sings along and he just, wants to dance around to the beats. And so that's such an inspiration for me. And I think, yeah, like my dad is such an inspiration to me to want to make sure I'm encouraging Noble, my son, and, my future kids, as much as possible in their dreams and making sure that I'm just fully supporting them. And yeah, and that my music, I think, it's interesting because like, Rakim, he's one of the greatest rappers of all time. And I read his book recently and he said, when I first started making rap, I didn't cuss in my lyrics because the first person I was going to show it to was my mom. And I didn't want to disappoint her because, she didn't like me cussing in the house. And I just thought that what a beautiful thing, what a beautiful thing that Rakim's mom, it's legend in hip hop, who chooses not to really use profanity in his lyrics because he had a relationship with his parents and he thought about, because I think it's that really struck me. Is it's like when I talk with my friends, I'll be honest, I cuss sometimes, and I'm way more likely to cuss around my peers than I am around an elder or a child, because you're more thoughtful when you're around an elder, and you're more thoughtful when you're speaking to a child. And so when you're making music that your parents are listening to and your child is going to listen to, you're way more thoughtful about what you're going to say than if you're just speaking to your peers or young adults, where you don't have to be, you're not as conscious, I don't think, about those things. So I'm also really grateful for them for that reason, that it's made me a lot more intentional and conscious about the type of music and the types of lyrics I'm writing, because I know they're going to hear it, and it's going to paint their perception of me based on what it is that I decide to say, So yeah, but yeah, I'm so honored to hear that, that's very visible and that you see that. And yeah, I'm just eternally grateful to have that as my bedrock and my foundation, which is probably why I'm so passionate about the family unit being, one of the main things I focus on as a change agent in the world.
I want to add that I was watching an interview with John Leguizamo a few weeks ago, and we were talking about, his art and the message that he's trying to give across and raise the consciousness by educating us and helping us remember our true history, being colonized and what that means.
Yeah.
He made a statement that it just resonated with me. And he said that he never saw himself as a performer. As an artist, he's an activist. There's a difference between being a performer and being an activist when you're an artist. And it's what you're talking about. It's taking that gift and that talent and saying, what can I do with it? It's the 3 levels of expression you were talking about. And to me, when artists take that ability, that gift, that skill, to bridge between the unconsciousness and the consciousness, to bridge between the message of the divine and manifest that beauty and that message into the world. It's so amazing. And then the energy when you're performing. I'm all about family. I'm all about kids. And it always just is so inspiring. It makes me so happy that when you're up there and you're expressing and you're sending that vibration out into the world, that little baby is looking up at you and going, that's my dad. That's my dad. I'm going to be just like him. And there's so many children out there that don't have that and that are aspiring to be that without any guide. So to put yourself out there for all the kids that don't have that and see themselves in you, it's a beautiful mirror and a beautiful reflection. I just want to really thank you for that.
No, thank you so much. That means a lot for you to say that, and I appreciate it. And yeah, it's definitely a big responsibility, and I try to not take it lightly and do the best that I can. Definitely, I'm nowhere near perfect and have many, many shortcomings, but as we all do. So we just got to strive and try to make each day better. But yeah, definitely, I think it's so important to have those role models. And I think God or the universe or whatever you want to call the divine creator clearly designed humans to need that. It's like we all have a father and a mother, generally fit from a physiological standpoint. So they serve a purpose, in our life. And the divine feminine, what a beautiful thing. And I think that's another way of thinking of it, the feminine and the masculine. And we definitely need both of that. They each serve a purpose in our being. So when one of those is lacking, we're going to seek it out. I think, when there's not the masculine or there's not the feminine there, we're going to somehow seek it out, oftentimes subconsciously. And then whatever it is that we get kind of tapped into, that's what we then, we receive that energy, and then we kind of put it back out into the world. So I think a lot of the issues that we see are a direct result of that, not getting that proper channeling of the feminine and the masculine through our parents, as our guides, our early guides.
And it does bring such awareness to the social injustices, because really, if you want to cripple a society, you want to separate families.
Yeah.
You want to cripple a society, then have an assault on childhood. And how do you do that? By separating families, by taking away those guides, by taking the parents' awareness away, and nurturing an unconsciousness. That's what stifles the youth and that potential that's going to take us to the next level. Can you share with us before we conclude, because we need the world to see what you do, explain to us what Rap Camp is, the mission of Rap Camp, the children that come, because this is such a beautiful program that we can show how this can be done in other communities.
Yeah. Well, so Rap Camp is another amazing creative inspiration from Kareem Rushdie, who is a dear friend of mine now. He started off just as a rapper that I liked, and then I kind of reached out, connected with him, and now we're really close friends. So he started the Rap Camp, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, and the mission for him was just creating positive change through rap, very simply. And so I was actually kind of doing, similar type of stuff, just because I think, like you said, artist kind of is going to have their different point of, am I a performer? Am I an artist, or what am I? So for me, I think I really see myself as an educator. And then through my art, I try to educate and, inspire through that. So I found myself kind of doing a lot of that, the type of stuff that he does, but the Rap Camp, he kind of formalized all of it. So unfortunately, because of the distance, he lives in, over in like close to Toronto, Canada. So he's across the continent. So we've done a few together. We did one summer, like a 3-week Rap Camp. That was just phenomenal. And then I've been able to do a couple here, but I haven't really been able to dedicate as much time to it as I would like, but it's definitely something on my mind, and we're always talking about it. So it's kind of one of those things. It's like, when's the timing going to kind of sync up with this, where I can go a little bit more full head of steam. And I'm hoping that it's soon. But again, in the right timing. But yeah, basically the mission of it is creating positive change through rap. And it's really, there's a very simple framework, and that's something I really appreciate about it. So he basically gives 2 rules behind every Rap Camp session. Respect and encouragement are the 2 rules. And they're so important, because when you're trying to foster creativity, something Kareem taught me that I've become way more keen on and aware of is when it comes to the arts and creativity, generally speaking, we have a very distorted view on it as a society. So one main thing is that when we praise art, we always praise talent first and foremost. We always think, oh, that was really good. You're really good at that. You're really talented. Those are the things that kind of come to our mind first, because we're analyzing the art first and foremost for talent. And of course, nothing wrong with talent. Talent is beautiful. Talent is God-given. It's something we should find our talents and use them, and use them to benefit the world. That's not a bad thing. But when we kind of praise someone's creativity purely based on their talent, then it creates a hierarchy. And what ends up happening is it makes most people feel like they're not creative. So that's like something that's a lot of people like to say, I'm not creative, when actually all of us are designed to create all the time. We're always creating. We're all creative, but you've been conditioned to think that you're not, or that your creativity is less than someone else's because of the way that we view it. So that's one thing that he's taught me. So anytime we have a Rap Camp space, we always tell people, we always awaken people to this. And then we say, we're actually going to praise a spiritual quality instead of talent. And that's where encouragement comes out of. So we always say we're going to praise courage, because the number one thing it takes to share something you've created is it takes vulnerability, and then it takes courage, because it's scary. It's very scary to share something that's very deep in your soul that you've made. So encouragement is simply giving courage to someone. And I never thought of that. The word is right in there in encouragement. You're giving someone courage by encouraging them. You're just trying to make them feel more confident to do something. So we always make sure that everyone feels very encouraged to share anything that they're able to create. And we do our best to not make it something where someone's feeling more praised because theirs had more talent, but we're just thinking about how much courage is this person showing right now. And I'm literally praising that courage in order to make them feel more and more confident. So any Rap Camp session we do, it's really just about creating an environment where people feel encouragement and they feel encouraged to share. And of course, we want to develop those skills and get better at the craft, but that's definitely a secondary focus. Whereas a lot of other rap education models are let me just show you how to get really good at rapping. Here's how you do flow, and here's how you do freestyle and whatever. Whereas the Rap Camp is more yes, we want you to get good at that, but ultimately we want to create an environment where we feel encouraged to share, and we're being very respectful of ourselves. And I love Kareem always goes in and says, not only are we respecting each other and ourselves, we have to respect our creator, because he says when you say I'm not creative, you're actually disrespecting what created you, because you are. The creator made you creative. So it's actually a diss on God or the divine to say I'm not creative. And it's like, whoa, you know, poof, that's a mind-blowing concept to be like, I'm disrespecting what created me by saying that. So we're also respecting our creator when we're channeling this energy into making things. So ultimately, yeah, the framework is very much on that. Also, another key theme is process over product. And so it's all about like, yes, again, if we can have a finished verse or a finished song or whatever as a result of our session, wonderful. But that's not the process is way more important. So like I just had a little kind of a spontaneous little session. My uncle has a little youth group that he meets with, and he said, hey, could you come on and do one of your rap camp things? This was a couple weekends ago. I said, okay, sure. So I got on a Zoom call with them, and I kind of did a little, workshop, and two of the youth, after having like some time to create, said, okay, do you want to share something? Do you have anything? And they said, no, I couldn't think of anything to write. And I think like the gut impulse oftentimes is to be like, what, come on, you didn't write anything, just share something, or, you're slacking or whatever. And instead, Rap Camp has helped me go, hey, that's great that you took the time to even try and think about something to write. That's a huge step, because you weren't doing that before. So now at least you thought about it. You were thinking about something to write. Bravo. Let's all give them a round of applause for thinking about something to write. And it's just being encouraging at every step, because that's what's going to get them to the next step. Encouragement is what keeps us going along that creative process. So ultimately that's kind of the focus. And then, it's also always about trying to create positive change. So, and that's where those 3 levels of expression come in, where it's like, okay, and really giving them prompts that get them thinking in that way about, what do I want to change? When you say, what is it that you want to change about the world? Immediately the person's going to start thinking about solutions. Versus if you ask someone, what do you hate about the world? They're going to start thinking about stuff they're angry about. Like, so the prompts and the questions are often very critical. And we always try to make sure those are very elevated for people. But also allowing, like the other beautiful thing is it's like, there's no rules. So that's like of course there are certain frameworks or whatever and restrictions to various art forms, but like just kind of letting that stuff go. It's like, okay, well, hey, we said we're going to write about this, but you want to write about that? Awesome. Write about it. Go for it. Like so it's just all about encouragement all the way. And so like I said, I haven't been able to give as much time to that as I want. And I definitely see that as being like a long-term big pillar of what I want to do. But it's been more kind of spontaneous and ebbs and flows at the moment, but that's kind of the spirit behind it, is just inspiring young people to express themselves in a positive way, to create change, and just find their voice and find their expression, and to help them channel it to be of service ultimately, to contribute to the betterment of the world. So it all kind of all fits together in the main, the main mission basically.
Beautiful, Colby. My goodness, so grateful you're here. We're 4.5 hours into a 24-hour collective intelligence block party.
Wow.
I need to step away for 20 minutes to prepare for the next
Okay.
at the top of the hour. No, but you're totally cool here. You have till the top of the hour, and but at the top of the hour, just so everyone knows, we're going to start a 4-hour session on ending world hunger. That'll be in 2 different 2-hour segments. We totally need you there, Colby, if you can make it. There's
Yeah.
Come and go as you please.
Awesome.
I'm going to step out for 20 minutes. I'll be back. And estás en tu casa, hermano. So
Thank you. Muchas
all right.
gracias.
And thanks so much, everyone. All right. I'll see you all in 20 minutes or so. Thanks
See
a
you
lot.
later, honey.
Yeah.
All right. Jackie, back to you.
Well, I've exhausted all of my questions. I really like to leave it open to anyone who has any questions. And before we
Thank you for all those questions, Jackie. And everyone, it's like, again, going to that last point, the question that is asked is so pivotal to the way that the expression ends up being. So thank you for all those just beautiful questions that were asked. And it's always so great to have these opportunities to just reflect a little bit on, I didn't have prepared statements. So I'm just kind of sharing what's going through me. And so it's beautiful to be able to take the time to process all this stuff, prompted by those amazing questions. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Melvin, did you have a question?
Yeah, hey, Colby. Hey,
Hey,
I
Melvin.
just want to thank you for sharing your work with us, and I'm really your deep sense commitment to spirituality through music form, the form of rap, is what resonates so strongly with me. And when you were talking about encouragement and courage, you really touched home with me because I'm working with my granddaughter,
Mm,
and I realized that I could be a lot more encouraging to give her courage.
mm,
And I like the way how even when, you pointed out when a person said they can't write lyrics, just that they tried, how you gave them that encouragement, and that was very compassionate and loving and kind.
mm,
And that's what it takes to bring the best out of us. And I really appreciate how the narrative, the story that you told about creation, that we from the creator, and because we all created this
mhm,
there, and for us to deny that, we deny creation. I really like that.
mm.
Also, I'm still going to, I don't know how soon I could get you. I have my granddaughter with me right now, and this girl is good.
Okay.
Stuff. How soon can we hook up with her?
Yeah.
With
Let
me
let
now. You let me know how soon. I'll give you my address, and when you check out some of her stuff. And the girl is on fire. She could really benefit
mm,
from your spirit, from you helping her to channel her talent in the right way. You're gonna love. I call her. Her name is Kiki. And I
okay.
asked her about 2 months ago, would you like for me to call you Princess Kiki or Queen Kiki? She
Mm.
said Queen Kiki. I
Amazing.
got
I
a
love
Queen
it.
Kiki.
Oh, wow. That's
She
got a
got
ring
some
to it. I
stuff.
like that.
She got some stuff, Colby. I mean,
Okay.
really good stuff that she had, and you can really. I know you and her going to jail really well, and you can help her develop her creativity. What is the creativity? You can help her bring it out more, make it
Absolutely.
fuller.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I gave you my phone number.
Yes. Yep.
So you give me a call, man. Whenever you're ready to roll, we ready to roll.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna call you either today or tomorrow because actually, yeah, I've with the current situation, things have opened up a little bit more. I've my shift has been a little bit more on the music stuff and not so much on my neighborhood stuff as much just because of the current restrictions. So maybe even we could do something like this, like a Zoom call where she could, we could just get to know each other
Oh
and she could
yeah,
share some of her stuff and
yeah,
whatnot.
yeah. We could do that, and also, I have transportation. I don't have the employment situation that I had before, so I
Okay.
have some. We could come to you, whatever. I
Okay.
just would like to get this going with her as soon as possible because she's looking
Absolutely.
right now, and right now she's over doing jujitsu, and this girl got up at 7 o'clock this morning wanting to go over there, pushing me, got on my
Wow.
nerve, and I finally took her. She's on fire with the jiu-jitsu. She don't want to leave.
That's
So I
great.
want to get her cooked into the music too.
Okay. Well, that speaks volumes about her if she's getting
Oh,
up
yeah,
at
it
7 o'clock.
is. This girl, she's on fire, with this creativity. Queen Kiki is the child that she's like this. If they're in a line, Queen Kiki is not going to be the child that's going to stay in line.
Mm.
She's not going to draw inside the line. That's just not who Queen Kiki is. She is
Awesome.
just not going to do that.
Awesome. Okay. Hey, and yeah, we need that. We need people that are thinking outside the box and
Yeah,
pushing the limits.
the
Absolutely.
original. So just let me know when we can hook up. And once again, thank you for the awesome work that you're doing in your music, and really giving the compassion to rap music. You really bringing it back where it started at.
Mm.
The first
Yeah.
one was just creativity, fun, loving stuff, was just positive, was no put down, nobody hurt, was no vulgarity in it.
Right.
It wasn't. Those guys were just having fun,
Right. Right.
free flowing and stuff, and you bringing it back to that. Thank
Mm.
you.
Well, thank you so much for all of that. And yes, I definitely want to connect. And so yeah, I'm going to hit you up and we'll definitely get something arranged very soon. And thank you for that last comment as well, because I think that's always something that's on my mind is how am I honoring, the roots and
Yeah,
the
you are.
origins.
You're honoring the roots of rap. That's where it really come from. We were just in the streets. They were just doing playful, fun things with each other.
Right.
Nobody got cursed out. Nobody was insulted. Nothing like that,
Right. Well, and a lot of people don't even realize that a lot of the a lot of the violence that's in the lyrics actually, well, at least from what I understand, is it came from there was so much physical violence happening in the community. It was like, well, okay, first of all, it was like, let's bring people together to just have fun and party and have a safe space. But then it was like, all right, rather than like actually hurting each other, why don't you just, duke it out on the mic, and like, at least you're not hurting each other, which is definitely a step in the right direction. But of course, the ultimate, I think there's more steps to be taken, but then what ends up happening is it got kind of taken off course, and then I just became disassociated with that context. And now it's just like, I just want to, talk about violence or talk about whatever, because that's just what we do, versus like, oh, it was actually to try and limit physical violence, now it's like leading to physical violence sometimes. So I think it's, so much of it is understanding the roots of things and always trying to continually progress and take the next step. But anyway, but yeah, I appreciate that, and definitely doing my best to stay true to that original spirit.
And you are doing that.
Thank you, Melvin.
I got to go get Queen Kiki. I got to go get her. I'll be back.
Cool. We love you, Melvin. Thank you.
Thanks, Melvin. I'll be in touch soon.
And Sarah has her hand up as well. I think we have a few more minutes. If everyone, is that good for you, Colby? Is this working?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Sarah, you're on.
Hey, Colby, that's amazing. I loved seeing your video. I don't have my video on now because it drains my battery. I have to wear earphones in where I live in my house. So
got it.
That's why I can't use my video right now.
No worries.
Okay, so I really liked the part where you talked about that you love how your son listens to you and you keep that connection, the family connection, because so much of, not so much, but all of animal agriculture is separation of families, separation of babies from their moms. And the females don't even have husbands because, they're not making love in the field. Like Jane Velez Mitchell always says, these cows aren't out there making love in the field. They're not milking cows with their hands and their udders and stuff. It's just crazy. But yeah, I really like the part where you're talking about the connection between keeping families together, because right now, there's a lot of separation, as you know, with the social distancing and people that have loved ones in homes and home health cares and nursing homes, and they can't visit their older relatives or whatever. I mean, it's just kind of crazy how that's a separation right now. And I really loved your music. I really loved your rapping. I really actually thought that you sounded like Eminem. I'm not sure if you've listened to a lot of him, because it sounded just like him. I was shocked when I heard it. I was just like, wow, that's incredible, like how close it is to his voice. I mean, I would take
a lot of him in high school. Yeah, I listened to a lot of him in high school, and I've gotten that before, which is funny because I don't personally hear it, but I definitely.
Oh, I think it sounds just like him.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was just like, is he rapping over Eminem's voice, or is he actually? That's what his voice sounds like. And of course I knew it was your voice, but it's just it's almost too close. It's really good. Yeah, I really liked it. I really thought that was amazing. I'm going to definitely share out your stuff. So is your profession I know, because you're in the service industry, which I actually also love that as well, because that's what we're of course going to, a service driven world.
Right.
When you I'm not sure, I don't want to get too personal with you, but I do think it's important because not everybody, pretty much not many people have the means to do what you've done.
Right.
Really, because you have your family helping you and stuff like that, which is amazing. And not just in the emotional part, but in financial too.
Absolutely.
So, how do you live during this? Do you have some type of income? Because I know you were talking about that with about, how your wife is helping support you like all the way, not financially, but, just helping you with making all of this creatively.
Yeah.
It's incredible how the actual music video came out. I mean, it's the concept, the shirts with the the different words on them. I just thought the whole thing was just incredible. So are you looking to go to like bigger production, or like where do you see your next move?
Yeah.
Your music?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's just so good.
yeah, those are great questions, and you touched on a lot of interesting things that I want to unpack. But yeah, I'm a pretty open book with stuff, so yeah, I'm happy to share. So yeah, my financial situation has been kind of very much meandered ever since I left my kind of cushy corporate job at Discover Card in like 10. And so with the music, I've kind of been doing. I've had like ebbs and flows or fits and starts where I'm like trying to pursue it more professionally, as opposed to like just as a hobby to put music out where I'm not concerned about money. So I've had at times where I'm trying to push a little bit harder on that. And then, but yeah, over the last year, I was actually doing a faith-based period of service where I was receiving some financial support from the Baha'i community and kind of serving full time in the neighborhood with all of these various programs at kind of a little bit higher coordination type of level. And so that kind of allowed me to have financial means and then be able to make music. And my wife was teaching as well. And then once we had our son, she's now staying at home with him. And so, but basically our period of service has just recently ended. So now I'm kind of in a new big transition now where I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I make a living for myself? It's looking like it's going to be a combination of, music. And so the nice thing with music, like I said, it's really difficult to make money if I'm just making it and putting it out, like to be streamed, because you make like half a cent per stream, so you're not making a lot that way, but there are other ways that you can. So like Kickstarter, for example, is a platform I've used a few times, that allows me to basically get all of my expenses covered and more generally. So that anything I'm making, I'm not in a deficit. I'm actually making money from the music. So I've done a few of those. I'm in the midst of actually doing one right now for a new album. And I've been exploring Patreon, which is another platform where, people that love your music can just support you as an artist to make the music as opposed to, buying the music. And so I'm exploring kind of those methods, and that does definitely bring in some income, which is helpful. It's not quite enough to make a living for myself. So yeah, I'm exploring some other things. I've been doing some art, consulting work with like music promotion strategies and stuff like that, because I've gotten pretty good at that, especially with my degree in business and marketing. So I've been doing a little bit of that work. And so, yeah, right now it's kind of just a very transitional and figuring it out. But I'm also the type of person that I know if I just, it's kind of a paradoxical thing where like the more I focus on it, the more stressed I get, and the more I focus on just like, I know it has to happen, but the more I focus on just being of service and doing things for the love of God, I know that like God and the divine just ends up, it always has, just ends up replenishing me in just various ways, whether that's, just directly through my family helping me, which I'm like, hey, all right, if like, I just need to accept that. I need to get over my pride and just accept that. Or yeah, like a big contribution towards, like, I'll have people that are my music fans that literally will just send me money sometimes out of the blue. Here's $100. I love your music. I'm like, thank you, and so yeah, so I'm very much also in that, just, okay, like, I know the divine spirit and source is going to take care of me if I'm focused on doing something good. But it hasn't looked as kind of maybe as nice and clear and organized and like, like 9 to 5 type of job where it's, yeah, I work this many hours, I make this much money, and it, these are all my expenses. It's been a lot more, a little bit in the gray or whatever. So anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at. But with that said, your other question, as far as like where I'm headed, I mean, yeah, I read a book recently by this author. His name's Ari Herstand, and he's a independent musician and kind of a guru in the world of independent artists. And he has a book called How to Make It in the New Music Business. And one of the things I love about his book, and he also has a podcast, and he always asks the people on the podcast, what does it mean to you to make it in the music industry? And something that he shared in the beginning of his book was he said, in the music industry, the standard of making it is like so much different than any other job. He's like, most people view, like, as a musician, you haven't made it unless you're like internationally famous. Like unless you're like Drake, you know, like blowing up on all platforms and doing like international tours, like you haven't made it yet. You still, you know. And he says, like, why is that? Like, we wouldn't have the same standard for like a teacher. Like, oh, you're a teacher? Cool. Oh, you have a classroom of like 30 students or 20 students? That's great. You were not like expecting the teacher to be like doing world tours and, you know, reaching like millions of people with their teaching work. Like, they have a teaching job and they teach a group of students. And so he kind of reframes this idea of like, as an artist, like, if you want to make it, it just means like making enough money to, you know, to survive and to, like, you know, meet your needs. And of course, do whatever it is that you want to do. But like from a financial standpoint, that's making it. So right now, that's kind of like my focus is, okay, how do I get to the point where I can generate enough revenue as an artist to, you know, meet the needs of me and my family. And yeah, so like I said, I'm not quite there yet. So I have other things I'm doing, but my goal really is to get to that point where I can be a full-time artist, and be able to make a living doing it and continue, you know, inspiring people as well, of course. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if that answers your question. And I just wanted to touch upon really quick as well. I love your point about connection and separation. And I just think, yeah, there's just so, you know, you kind of mentioned a few points, which I'm sure are underlying passions for you with like animal rights and things. But I just think there's so much to be learned from the from the design of creation, excuse me, of like the world around us. And yeah, so oftentimes as humans, we try to kind of make our own design and kind of ignore the original design of something. And so, yeah, I think, like, I'm just going to share a quick example that, I don't know, I just thought of this when you were sharing all that, is like, so, you know, my wife, she had a home birth for our first son, Noble. And we went through this method called the Bradley method, which is like basically about coaching the husband how to be a coach in the birth. And it was mind blowing because the whole premise of the book was like, you know, we're in this state now where like most people, the general public, they go to a hospital, they get all drugged up, they get, you know, the thing to numb them. And he's like, why are we doing that? And then he said, well, if you look at animals, like, they're not writhing in pain when they give birth, but it's like they're going through the same physiological process. Like, why is that? And he started researching, and he's like, animals, they're hardwired to know what to do to mitigate the pain. So he studied it, and then he was able to find out, like, as humans, we don't have that same kind of instinctual thing, but we do have the ability to do it. And being able to then coach my wife through giving a birth without any drugs, naturally, using the insights from creation of how it's done, you know, was just so enlightening and insightful to me. So I think, yeah, like you said, it's just like, there's so many things that are going on in terms of the separation that you mentioned. I'm sure many more things were, and it's just all based on our ignoring the design of things and what things were designed to do. And if we follow the way they were designed by a creative source that has way more intelligence than we have in our finite little brains, we just end up doing so much better than when we just try and ignore that and do it the way we want to do it, you know, at the expense of ourselves and so much other, you know, so the animals and the planet and all these other things. So I just, yeah, thank you for also bringing that point up. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question. I think it did.
Insecurity. Sorry.
Enable, disable.
Sorry, Jamin and I are trying to figure out how to disable the waiting room. Sorry.
No worries.
I thought I was on mute. Thank you, Colby, so much for being here with us, for sharing your gifts and being such a great inspiration and guiding light. You are lit, man. I just have to share a really funny story because I'm also an arts educator, and I have shows from time to time with my art. And some of the younger crowd came to my show, and one of the kids came up to me, and I'm sorry, Myra, I'm going to swear. He goes, "Hey, Mel, your stuff's really shit." And I'm like, okay, is that a good thing or is it a really bad thing? And he's like, no, man, that means cool. Like, all right.
That's hilarious. Yes, language is the receiver and the person giving the message. Oftentimes, we got to make sure we're on the same page with what's being said.
So, if I may, since we began with Emily Dickinson, I'd just like to end with Emily Dickinson.
Can I
She
say
wrote,
something really quickly so that when we can wrap it up?
yeah.
Because I love when we end in that meditative space and we transition to the next. Again, Colby, thank you so much. Thank you so much for infusing your light into this collective intelligence family, for sharing all of the work that you do and your mission. May that light just radiate healing onto this planet. And just thank you for being a part of this. Please, everyone, he's got a podcast. His 5th album is coming out. Support him, support the children. And we just love you. Thank you again.
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Jackie, for inviting me. And thank you all of you for putting this space together. And I didn't realize it was a 24-hour thing. That's amazing. So I'll definitely try and hop back on at some point throughout the rest of the day and be able to just be on the receiving end of some more amazing collective intelligence that I'm sure is going to be radiating through this little digital space. So thanks so much for me. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you, Colby. Great. So Emily Dickinson, the soul should always stand ajar, that if the heaven inquire, he will not be obliged to wait.
Short and sweet. Love it.
Short and sweet. Thank you, Colby. Woo!
All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your session, and I'll try to hop on when I have some free time throughout the rest of the day, and hopefully see you in a bit.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to end the recording. Thank you, guys. 1 second. Should I stop the recording or just hit pause?
Pause. All right. And you can